Well, I have 12 noon. I think we should get started and to keep on schedule. Well, welcome and thanks for joining us this afternoon for our new knowledge session. My name is Sandy Ratliff. I am with Virginia Community Capital, and we're happy to be a partner with the Washington County Chamber of Commerce, the Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubator, and the town of Abington to offer this professional development series. And the town of Abington, I'm sorry, I missed those. If you're not familiar with this, your first time, we started this program in 2014 to support the Washington County Business Challenge, and it's become one of the longest running professional development series in the Commonwealth, and we're proud to be bringing this to you every other week. Now, before I get started and introduce our presenters today, I want to let you know that we want to keep this webinar flowing and stay within our 1 hour time frame. So we have muted everyone. However, if you have a question for our presenters, we want to hear from you. So if you will please post those in the Q&A section, we will address those at the end of the session. I am pleased to have Cindy Fields and Patrick Horn with Virginia Highlands Small Business Development Center and with us today to lead our financial literacy session. And Cindy, I'm going to turn it over to you to share about what your program is and what you have to offer to businesses in the region and statewide, per se.
Well, thank you, Sandy, and I am happy to be here today. We always enjoy partnering with the Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubator and are happy to be a part of the series. So the first thing I'm going to ask you all to do, as I am telling you a little bit about the SBDC, I'd like for all of those who are in attendance to type in the chat box or the Q&A, whichever you're able to have access to, and just tell me who you are and what your business is. I always like to know that as I'm presenting. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen and start the presentation. So the title of the presentation today is on financial literacy. What is the bottom line post-COVID-19? I am the director with the Small Business Development Center. We are located at Virginia Highlands Community College. We are teleworking. We are meeting our clients via Zoom over the phone. And when clients need us to come out to their site, we are doing that on a limited basis. But the Virginia Small Business Development Center Network is a partnership between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and different institutions throughout Virginia. We have many at community colleges. We have some at economic development authorities and chamber offices. We are now at 28 strong throughout the state of Virginia. I do cover Washington County, Bristol, Virginia, and Smith County. I'm part of a Southwest Virginia SBDC regional network, and we cover businesses throughout the Southwest Virginia region. So just to tell you a little bit more about some of the areas that we provide assistance in, we do work quite a bit with businesses who are trying to get started. We work with you on planning your business, developing a business plan, developing a budget. Many are looking for funding, and so with that, we are helping them get a packet together to present to their funders. We also work with strategic planning. As businesses grow, a lot of times they need access to capital, and so we work with them to help them find the provider that could best meet their needs. We are working with clients on marketing, social media, web design, marketing, websites. Government contracting, that's another area that is one we've assisted with for a long time. We work very closely with our sister office, which is the PTAC office. And so when we see businesses that we believe can grow through either state or federal contracting, then we work with those businesses to get them certified to be able to sell in those areas and find business that is out there. We do have some specialty programs, and these are programs where we have specialists that work out of our state office at George Mason University. Now that we are all teleworking, honestly, you would not know that they were not in Abingdon, Virginia. Things have been rather seamless. So we do have someone that works specifically with businesses that need commercialization assistance. We have someone that is a craft beverage specialist. So he works with businesses that are in the craft beverage area. He also works some with our restaurants that have craft beverage in their restaurants. We have an international trade program. If you have products that we could potentially export, then we're going to work with that division. We work with second stage growth companies. We have a veterans assistance program. We also have an individual that works with our small town and merchant program, so specifically works in downtowns to help promote those retail businesses and restaurants. And we also have a cyber awareness program. But moving on with the presentation, I think that the first things that come to your mind when you hear financial literacy is that you think about the financial statements. So you're going to think about the balance sheet. You're going to think about the income statement, or it's often referred to as the profit and loss or P&L statement, the cash flow statement, and the retained earnings statement. You are going to think about understanding your financial position. I think those are the things that come to mind when you think of financial literacy. You're thinking about how much money that you're making or have made in your business, and that translates into how much you're going to be able to take home, because in a small business, sometimes we have a small business because we want to enjoy that flexibility. You want to solve a problem, but ultimately, at the end of the day or the end of the month or the end of the year, you want to be able to have the financial resources to take home for your own pleasure, to support your family. So those are the things that you really think about. So to look a little bit deeper at the financial statements, and I promise that the rest of the presentation, we are not going to dissect these statements. But let's just kind of look at the definition of these statements. So a balance sheet is a statement of the assets, liabilities, and capital of a business or any organization at a particular point in time. So if you think back to when you have had a balance sheet in your hands, maybe you ran it out of QuickBooks, or maybe your CPA or accountant produced a balance sheet for you. You think about that balance sheet is going to have your company name. It's going to then say balance sheet, and it's going to give a specific date as of 12/31/2019. And what that means is that the balances on that balance sheet are only accurate as of that specific day and time. Now, as we move on to the income statement or the profit and loss, that's going to show the company's revenues and expenses during a particular period of time. So when you are thinking about looking at this kind of statement, usually you are looking at that over either a month, a quarter, or a year. The cash flow statement is a financial statement that summarizes the amount of cash and cash equivalents that enters and leaves a company. So when you think about a cash flow statement, what you want to think about is transactions. When I have a transaction in my business, does that produce cash, or is that a use of cash? And that's really what your cash flow statement is going to tell you. It's going to tell you in several different areas. Are you using cash, or are you having cash inflows into your business? The final statement is the returned earnings statement. That's going to report the transactions that increase or decrease the retained earnings over the course of an accounting period. So, you want to think about this as kind of being a summary of everything that you've earned and been able to keep. So if we move along, we've talked about the definitions, right? But what does that really mean to me? I understand the definition of a balance sheet, but what does it really tell us? It really tells you that it's showing the net worth of a company. So if you come into us and you say, I really need to purchase a building for my business, and I say, well, have you talked to Virginia Community Capital? That might be an excellent resource for you. And so let me refer you to Sandy Ratliff. But Sandy is going to need to know what the net worth of your company is before she can tell you if they're interested in working with you and loaning you funds. The second statement, the income statement, is also something she's going to be interested in. And that is telling you how profitable your company has been. It tells you a little bit more about how you're really managing your business. If you are looking at an income statement and you're reviewing that for several years, your bottom line net income is going to increase, hopefully, as you continue to operate that business. Now, that increase in net income can be as a result of several things. Maybe it's because you're producing more sales. Maybe it's because you've tightened your belt and you've reduced your expenses. Or maybe it's a little bit of both. But that's definitely something that she's going to want to see. Now, what about the cash flow statement? Again, it's showing you the money. It is showing you how much cash you really have to work with. So as you think about financial literacy, that's what I want you to keep in your mind, is understanding that. So you need to understand, obviously what they're telling you. You need to understand the definition, but you also need to understand what accounts and categories make up these statements. And that is really important. I can tell you that, I have taught for a number of years accounting courses for different colleges. And it always amazes me. I always think that the balance sheet is one of the easiest things to look at. But it amazes me how hard it is for students to be able to remember the accounts that make up the balance sheet and categorize those accounts. So those are important things that you do want to understand as you're using financial statements. But not only that, you also want to understand which transactions are going to increase or decrease the actual categories on these statements. So some exciting news I'm going to tell you about, and we'll talk more about this later in this presentation, but I just want you to kind of put this, jot down a note and remember this, that through the CARES Act money, the Small Business Development Center has been able to do a couple of different things that we've been very excited about. And you saw Patrick Horn early on when we opened. He's my backup today in case anything happens with my internet. But Patrick is actually a marketing counselor for us now. And so one of the things we've been able to do is we've been able to hire a marketing counselor, which is something we've never had before in our Southwest Virginia regional offices. And he works specifically with small businesses and helping them. But in addition to that, we also are focusing on financial literacy. So in early 2021, we will be rolling out a cohort program, actually several, but one of those cohort programs is going to be a financial cohort, and it's going to concentrate on helping you understand your financial statements. I mean, so many times I have clients that come in my office and say, I get financial statements, but I don't understand them. And no one ever sits down and explains them to me. And when you are managing your business, it is so important that you understand how your financials are changing month after month. That is how you grow, not only from a knowledge standpoint, but how you can better manage your business and help your business grow. So just keep that in mind that that is something that is coming up. Certainly, if you want more information on that, I've listed a phone number down here. I've also put a phone number in the chat window. And these will be somewhat small. They will be virtual. We are working to develop a program that's going to work with everybody's timetable and your time schedule. And so, if you're interested in that, please reach out to us because we would like to get you signed up and on that list and get you some more information. So kind of back to, that was my public service announcement, but back to the topic that we're talking about. So I want you to think about the fact that all these things we've discussed are important in understanding your financial literacy. However, understanding just a definition of a statement or the account type and its balance are not going to help you understand what you need to do and how you need to manage and improve things unless you really understand what is driving all of these accounts that lead into these financial statements. But everybody understands cash, right? So if you can understand cash, that's a really good place to start, in feeling like you are becoming more financially literate. You understand that in order to improve your net income, that one of your goals is you want to bring more cash into your cash register. And I think that most business owners also understand that once they get that cash in that cash register, they want to be really careful about the amount of cash that they have to take out. Because if we can manage these two things, then this is going to help us take more cash home to do whatever we want to do with. It may be that you want to keep that cash, in your business because you want to grow your business, or you want to invest in more assets, or, maybe there's other things that you want to do within your business. And it's not always just about, taking additional cash home. So I wanted to show you this picture. And as I was preparing this presentation, I asked some family members, what do you think this is? What do you think this picture is? And, one said, wow, that kind of looks like a spinning top, and if you're old enough, then you know what that was as a child. The other was, well, why are you feeding dollar bills into something that looks like a funnel? And yes, that's exactly what that is. So, your goal as a business owner really is to understand that you want to keep as much money as you can, within your business, so that you then got those stacks of money and you've got the money bags that you can keep and you can take to the bank, right? So what we're really talking about is we're talking about a sales funnel. And so a good definition of that sales funnel is that we want to define the stages that move people forward in the sales process. And so of all the things we've talked about today, this is kind of my very favorite, as we talk about understanding financial literacy, because financial literacy is so much more than just having, an understanding of what a balance sheet is or what an income statement is and knowing those accounts. We've got to be able to take that knowledge and be able to use that knowledge in conjunction with the knowledge of how we we create more dollars in our sales funnel so that we can grow our business. So as I have during this period, kind of looked and researched different things to understand what's happening in our economy. We have done so many webinars, many in conjunction with a lot of our economic partners. Sandy Ratliff with BCC is one of those. We've done a lot in trying to educate businesses about what everybody is experiencing right now during COVID-19. What are the lessons that we are learning? And not just lessons that we're learning now that we need to be able to deal with, but we need to be able to retain that knowledge and apply that going forward, because I think that we've all realized, and I hate the sounds of this, but it is what it is. Things are not like they used to be. You hear people say, this is the new normal. And we have to understand that. So this statement was from Visa's general manager, actually, in the United Arab Emirates area. But I thought that this was very applicable to what we have been experiencing and what we've talked about a lot during this period of time. Understanding consumer behavior patterns is most vital for the worst affected small business sector, particularly the segment reliant on the physical presence of consumers and those with limited or no digital presence. So this is so important that I really want to kind of highlight this again. So again, we're talking about businesses who in the past just didn't have a very big digital footprint. Maybe you occasionally posted something on Facebook, maybe you had a website just so people, could click the get directions to your business, but your digital footprint wasn't very big. You weren't really out there in social media. You weren't selling online. Maybe occasionally you posted a product, but that customer could not actually have a place that they went to and placed an order for a product. So those kinds of businesses were businesses and are that have been reliant on clients or customers walking in their business, interacting with you and your staff, touching, feeling, trying on products, smelling products if you had those kinds of products. And that was what drove them to want to purchase from you. So if that's where your business is at, then we need to help you figure out how you can pivot, still sell all your products, provide your great customer service, but you need to understand the behaviors of your clients so that you know how to successfully come out of this and increase your business in the future. So we come back to what is financial literacy. So the literal definition of financial literacy is understanding the topic of money. It represents really one area of financial wellness. And I'm looking here, I'm going to just again ask you guys to make sure that you all are typing what your business is. Looks like we have some that have done that. So if you've not done that, if you'll just let me know who you are and what your business is. So even though we understand again that, financial literacy is really understanding our financial wellness, understanding the topic of money, it really takes more than financial literacy to make a meaningful difference in people's businesses. It takes a focus on behaviors, systems, sentiment, and making regular adjustments based on outcomes. So that is all really important. And so the four things that I want to talk about are the four things that businesses really need to adapt to for now and beyond COVID-19. The first of those is an online A game for business development. The second is going to be contactless options. The third is making people feel secure. And the fourth is that data is going to drive your success. So I want to talk about those in a little bit more detail. Now we're going to reserve some time at the end for some Q&A and just some good narrative between all of us. But let's talk about bringing your A game for online business development. So in June 2020, that seems like a long time ago to me. I recently said over the weekend as I was reflecting on the fact that, it was almost time for the election and here we were in November, I felt like that, Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, when she says, Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. And I just felt like, wow, shouldn't we still be in March? Because while it feels like that time has flown by, it also seems like that, we should still be back in March. And here we still are trying to deal with the pandemic. But in June of 2020, Forbes reported that e-commerce had jumped $52 billion. Memorial Day sales jumped 75% from $2 billion last year to $3.5 billion in 2020. The mobile share of e-commerce grew from January, but not as much, up about 10%. I think probably one of the reasons that didn't grow as much was simply because that so many people are teleworking, and instead of using an iPad or a phone, a smartphone all the time, that they're tuned in on a computer, for bigger screens. The other option was buy online, pick up in store. That grew 195% in May. And if you think about it yourself, the biggest, I think, buy online, pick up in store that we think about probably is Food City or Walmart here. And, I guess I'm an old school person that I really enjoy taking a trip to a grocery store. I enjoy, being in person, shopping, interacting, that kind of thing. I am not really a person that enjoys online shopping because I always find that I have questions when I'm shopping online, and I probably end up talking myself out of the purchase, quite honestly. But I think this really speaks to us just about how the behaviors changed. And I think that those changed for a lot of different reasons. I think that, we are dealing with regulations from, our state government, from local entities who have said, you have to do your part. You have to stay home. And, if you're coming out, you need to wear a mask. And then they talk about cases increasing and, how you can be safe. And so as they talked about that, it seemed like that buying online and picking up, even if it might have been a drive-through or curbside, that was something that we could do. We still could purchase, still could shop locally, but be able to pick that up and not have to go in store. Now, I think that has been a trend that has been growing, and I think, I've heard more and more young mothers who have said, I had never tried that before. I'd always thought about it, but wow, after I've done this, I won't ever do anything any differently because I don't have to take my 3 kids through Walmart. I just put them in the car seat and drive through and pick up my groceries, and I've saved time. And so there's a lot of different reasons for this, but also they reported in this report that e-commerce development had accelerated 4 to 6 years. And so, this is definitely something that we've been seeing and concentrating on. And one thing that, when we were able to bring Patrick on, that we've really worked a lot with their businesses on, because we recognize that for small businesses to make it, it's really important that they have that social media and web presence. And so as we've worked through this, and as we've dealt with customers and clients who, have said, well, let's look at all the programs that are out there. There's been, a payroll protection program. There's been lots of grants, state, local grants that have been available. We had the EIDL grant at the beginning of the pandemic. And so as we've worked with clients on that, what we've seen is that those small businesses who had an e-commerce platform already developed, they were already out there. They had a strong website presence and an even stronger social media presence. Listen, those businesses have thrived during this period of time. I mean, it's not just that they have existed, but their sales have been better than they ever had been before. So, that's something that we've really worked with businesses on. And again, we're going to talk a little bit more about this as we get to the end of the presentation. So, one of the things that we really want you to understand is that you need to assess your current marketing plan right now. Do you have a marketing strategy? And if you don't have a marketing strategy, you need to call us, because, these are some things we're working on with businesses. Do you have a website? Do you have social media presence? Do you maybe need to improve that? Again, we'd love to talk to you about that. So you want to also look at strategies to building relationships virtually. And that's another thing that we've really seen during this period of time, is just how it is so important to understand those relationships with your customers. And so, I'm going to give you an example. We have a lot of different businesses that we work with, and I've been so proud of so many of them that have really gotten out of their comfort zone during this, and they have been able to, do a lot more than they ever had before. But we've been able to help them get to that point where they were doing a lot more Facebook Lives. They were, developing a calendar of the things that they needed to do. Remember, when you're in small business, it's not that supervisor who's coming to your office, every 10 minutes, hey, remember this or do that. You're not getting emails from people or phone calls from them telling you what tasks you need to do. You are now your own boss. You have to set your own goals, and you have to have a calendar really that is helping you stay on track with what you need to do. Okay. So one thing that I've seen is that as these businesses have done more live presenting of products and services and what they're doing, is that they are realizing that they've got different people that are engaging with them. And that's great. But you need to understand that you have to be able to convert a viewer, when we're talking about, websites, or we're talking about social media, you've got to be able to convert those viewers to actual customers. because somebody that views what you're offering is not a customer until they've bought something from you. Okay? So you think about when somebody is coming in your store and they are walking around, and you or uh, someone with your business is saying to them, "Welcome to the store. Can I help you? Is there anything I can help you find?" Or, and you say, "Well, I'm just kind of looking." "Okay, great. Well, help yourself," and a good sales rep then, in a little bit is going to follow up and say, "Is there anything I can help you find?" Or, "Hey, have you checked this product out? I love this. This smells great." Or, maybe it's, I'll give you a great example. I was in yesterday, I went down to visit Market on Main. And so it just happened that the lady that was working the shop yesterday, her little boy was with her. And I walked up and had checked out with some things. And there was this large candy apple sitting on the bar. And he didn't realize what he was doing, but he was phenomenal. And he looked up at me and he said, "Those are awesome." He said, "They are so yummy. I had one last night." And then his mom continued to talk about how that they had been enjoying these. And so that drove me to say, I think I want to try that. And so they increased their sales. It was a $10 sale, but it was a huge apple. And I said, "Hey, I can take this and, share with my family." So, in that scenario, we were in that store, and, they're able to convert someone who's coming in and viewing to actually purchasing something. It's a little bit more difficult, when people are viewing online. And that's why that I usually tell you that if you're doing a Facebook Live, that you want to be able to do that live, but also record it. But when you're doing that live, you really need to pay attention to who's engaging with you, because you need to make sure that you are drawing them in, that you are talking back to them. Now, the one thing, and I'm going to use Sandy as an example. Let's say that I was selling something and I was doing a Facebook Live, and Sandy came on, and I knew Sandy, and I said, "Hey, Sandy, how are you? Nice to have you today." The one thing that Sandy coming on there doesn't tell me is it doesn't tell me that, Sandy lives beside her mom and that she helps her mom a whole lot. Doesn't tell me that she has this cute little nephew that she's always posting pictures of. So I know that, she's probably always looking for some goodies for him. It doesn't tell me that, she lives on a farm, and that and that she loves to garden. So probably gardening products are something that she would be interested in. So it requires that you pay attention to the people who are interacting with you, even if you just get a new like. You need to pay attention to those people and do a little research on them. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. I'm going to move on. But another thing that we want to talk about is the fact that during this, you need to make your customers feel secure. We know that, unfortunately, it seems that COVID-19 is forever changing the way we interact with money and cash only options. And we know that cash only merchants are going to struggle as more and more consumers are avoiding carrying cash. They don't want to be handling a lot of things. And they're avoiding frequently touching objects and services. The other thing that we've seen is, you go into a lot of places and it says, we've had a coin shortage. Now that's probably for several reasons. We know that some of the banks have been kind of rationed in the amount of coins that they're getting. So therefore, the businesses are too, but also the fact that more and more customers are paying with some type of card, so therefore they're not giving the businesses that change to have in their registers. So some of the things that you want to look at there are implementing touchless processes. Look at touchless payment systems, assessing the way that clients shop with you and give them a touchless experience. Using marketing tactics to let customers know that you are sanitizing. That is so super important right now, that you tell your story. Make sure that customers understand that, so that if they really are thinking, well, I'd really like to go in and shop there, but I'm a little bit concerned, that you are telling them, here's what I'm doing to make sure that we're all staying safe. One of the things that I've seen here recently talking about touchless payment systems is, and two examples really, but as their cases have kind of started spiking again in Southwest Virginia and Upper East Tennessee, if you go to Dunkin' Donuts or if you are going to Chick-fil-A, one thing that I've noticed them doing differently is, whereas they were taking your card and running your card themselves, most of the time now they take that payment kiosk and they are handing it out the window. And so you are actually doing that yourself. And so all of those are things to think about, because again, I know this is on financial literacy, but again, we're looking at the financial wellness of our business, and that all goes back to having dollars that are coming into our sales funnel. So the third point, and this one kind of plays off of the second, but is that you cannot avoid being contactless. And so this is really talking about online payments, online sales, online ordering, and the fact that you need to educate your customers about how they can do this and build trust with them so that they feel comfortable with e-commerce shopping. So as you're doing that, if you are introducing online shopping and are introducing an e-commerce platform, one of the things that I think is important is that you really be able to talk to your customers, So how do you do that? Well, go on social media and tell them, hey, we're implementing this new process, and here's how it's going to be easy for you to do. It's going to serve you. If you have contacts via email and you do email blasts, put that out in an email. Anything that you can do to tell that story and let them know that their payments are going to be secure. Because we still have, a lot of older people in our area that, they just have never shopped online, but they want to stay home and be safe. Also, designing sales processes that eliminate or reduce contact. Again, that kind of goes back to, processing your payments without, you having to have contact with their card and so forth. I think the other thing you have to think about, though, are, what's happening if they do come into your store and they want to reduce that contact with someone as much as possible. Most businesses have, implemented some type of PPE equipment so that there are less direct contact methods happening within your stores. But finally, data. Data is going to be the decider for your success. And this kind of really comes full circle, I think, in helping you understand the behavior patterns that are occurring with your clients. So understanding data on spending patterns will be the key to anticipating and foreseeing trends to seize the opportunity ahead. So if let's just say that you're out there on, particularly on Facebook, you know, there are a lot of companies that will advertise different types of shoes and things like that, clothing. I mean, there's all kinds. But you know, your phone is tracking a lot of what you're looking at. Because the other night I was looking at a pair of shoes, and it was actually a shoe that I had liked that had popped up on Facebook. But then I left Facebook and I popped over to Amazon, and I was going to see if I could find that shoe on Amazon. And so when I typed in shoes for women, I think it was walking shoes for women, guess what shoe popped up? The very shoe I had been looking at on Facebook. But, you as the business owner also need to be understanding these spending patterns and what your customers are interested in. And so we've talked about that a little bit, but again, here's what I typically see. I typically see that when somebody comes in and says, I want to start a business, I said, okay, we're going to start with a business plan. And one of the pieces of that business plan is developing a marketing section. And in that marketing section, I want you to tell me, who your target customers are. Not just that, well, my neighbor, that's a target customer. They'll come buy with me. Yes, but why? Tell me specifically what that customer looks like. What are they looking to buy? How old are they? What's their career like? All those kinds of things. And so you've got to understand those things as you are getting out there and putting your business out there on social media, on the website. And so what I see a lot is that people develop this as part of a business plan, and that's the end of it. They never revisit that again. And so that's something else that we are working with clients on. And we'll talk a little bit about that, as well later. But establishing engagement, and we've also, mentioned this a little bit, but, it's really important for you to, even if you are doing things online and you have new customers that are becoming a part of your viewing group of clients, it's important that you figure out how you can reach out to them and engage with them. And that's really important. You also want to determine how to drive those behaviors into your sales funnel. So, if you sell something for kids and you realize that one of the people that's viewing something you've shown is a mom, you want to reach out to her. You want to be able to offer something in a manner that's going to drive her interest into your sales funnel. So again, what I wanted to tell you is, in early 2021, we are offering a couple of different cohorts. They are going to be available to you, and we've got a couple of different formats going on, but we want these to meet the needs of your schedule. So there will be a marketing and a financial literacy cohort. I talked a little bit about the financial literacy, but as far as the marketing cohort, we are really going to help you dive down into developing a marketing strategy. You're going to have a marketing calendar for 2021. You're going to be able to know what the demographics are for your target clients. And we're going to help you set some goals so that you know how to go out there and find those customers and drive them into your sales funnel, because ultimately you have to do that in order to grow. So the marketing and the financial literacy will go hand in hand. Again, we're looking at the marketing and how you capture those customers, those people who are interested in your business, but how do we then take those and drive those back to our bottom line? So if you're interested in that, to reserve your seat, I'm giving you two different phone numbers. One was mine, and one is their main office number. So please contact us on that. We would love to have you be a part of those groups. The last thing I want to touch on real quickly, and this is a little bit off topic, but because of where we stand with the Rebuild Virginia Small Business Grant Program, I just want to make sure that everybody knows what's happening with this, because I feel like that the funds are going to start flying out of the coffers very quickly. And I really want to see our businesses in Southwest Virginia get this money. So around the end of July, the Rebuild Virginia grant was started. There were very, very few businesses that were qualified at that point in time. There were several categories, and I'm sorry, accidentally hit something. But there were not many business categories that could apply at that point in time. There's been a couple of revisions, but long story short, as of last Monday, the program has expanded. Its eligibility criteria now allows more businesses and nonprofits now to apply. So any small businesses or nonprofits that have 10 million or less in gross revenue or 250 or fewer employees may now apply. If you haven't applied, you just need to be able to show that you've had payroll, and you need to show that you're not delinquent on any kind of taxes, child support, anything like that, and that you can show a decrease in your gross revenue over 2019. If you can meet those requirements, then please look at this and apply. And I am asking you to do that sooner rather than later. I really think that it's imperative that you get those applications finished this week. We are assisting people with those. That's really all we've worked on for quite a while now, is working with people on knowing what they need to provide. Sometimes they have technical difficulties. So certainly feel free to call us on that as well. I'm going to ask Patrick just to unmute and come back on, just so that I make sure that you guys are meeting him. Patrick is our marketing counselor, and he is working with our small businesses as part of this program. So as part of what he is doing, if you are working with him, he really is out meeting with you. He is walking through an assessment with you on your current marketing strategy, because to know how we need to help you to strengthen what you're doing, which then is going to then come back in as a dollar into your sales funnel and hit your bottom line. We need to know where you are now. So Patrick, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. Cindy did a great job of talking me up, but yeah, I'm just here to, analyze areas of your business that might need more improvement, or areas that you're already doing really well in. And we want to continue in that direction. So yeah, this program Cindy's talking about is just an evaluation of your marketing and how we can help improve that overall marketing to help generate more sales for your business.
Okay, so at this point, I know we're running short on time here, but I do want to ask if there are any specific questions that we can try to answer for you. At this time, let me know. I will ask Sandy if you can kind of check to see what those questions might be.
I will, and I have been. First of all, I wanted to let you know that you get the award for the best ventriloquist act ever, because about 10 minutes during your presentation, your video had frozen. So you have been doing a great job leading the session without even moving your lips.
Oh, wow, great.
But I had a couple questions, and hopefully there are a couple that the folks on the call with us may have. Is what do you see is the most challenging part of the financials that small business have in keeping up with? I think we've all learned a lot during the PPP and the EIDL and the rebuild opportunities that rolled out. Some areas businesses were really impacted because they weren't prepared. So for those small businesses that are still on with us, what would you suggest that they focus on? If they don't even focus on anything else, what are the key things that if they go to Virginia Community Capital or whoever looking for financing or grant opportunities, they need to have and be ready?
I think I would say that the biggest thing that they need to understand is they need to understand, and this is going to be I guess, a loaded answer in a sense, but they need to understand what their financial statements are telling them. Because that's one thing that I've seen throughout this whole pandemic, as we've worked with people who are trying to determine where they are. I mean, a lot of times I have a client that calls me and says, I'm really struggling. I've got to get some other kind of financial resources, but yet when they send me their P&L and I look at, their funds, based on their statements, I say, well, according to what I'm looking at, it looks like you've got an excess of cash. And so I think if they don't understand what their financials are telling them, they also don't know if the transactions behind those financial statements are working correctly. I've seen a lot of things in these grant programs. A lot of the grant programs have asked for P&Ls, but they have not asked for balance sheets. And what I have found is that sometimes the methods of transactions that are being recorded aren't correct for their type of business. Maybe even if they are, it's not doing the businesses a favor because of the way that it's being reflected in those financials. So, it's really, really important that I mean, that is like, that's your report card. And if you don't understand what that report card is telling you, you cannot address issues that may be there that you don't realize are there, or you don't know how to grow. And so that's one thing that we do for people is that we do help them develop budgets, and we also help them, understand what their financials are telling them. So we're happy to sit down with you and work with you on that.
This isn't a question, but Frank Stephen posted, I am a retired accountant. I spent 45 years doing tax returns and bookkeeping. A former client talked me into doing bookkeeping. This Zoom meeting is good to help me remember details of what I used to do. I'm interested in making contacts of new businesses, owners, and offering my services. So if you need any help, Frank is in the market. Just a couple of things I wanted to piggyback on that you talked about. One, we finished that. It's a 13-week webinar series that focused on developing your resiliency plan. And for anyone that's joining us that's not aware of that, I highly recommend that you go and when you can get a chance, is to look at those 13-week sessions. They are available on Virginia Community Capital's Facebook page, and it's also available on our YouTube channel. And this had different aspects. Part of that is bookkeeping, but, having a crisis management. But, everything that was discussed goes into kind of what you talked about, Cindy, is having that, that financial literacy, because when something happens, you've got to be able, you need to know, okay, how much money do I have in the bank? How am I going to be able to do this? The PPE has really impacted many businesses that they've had to use money that they had stashed away, or they've had to get loans to be able to adapt. So I highly recommend that. And also you touched on e-commerce and having a mobile site where people can check out and also see what you have available. So we've done at least 3 webinars since COVID hit on how to set up an e-commerce site. And those are available not only on Virginia Community Capital's Facebook page and YouTube, but we also have them on the Virginia Small Business Incubator's Facebook page and also on our YouTube channel called New Knowledge, which is where this session today will be available that you can review back. So there's a lot of content out there. So you're at an advantage that somebody a year ago didn't have, because we've created all this content as a result of COVID. And I highly recommend that you go back and you find that information.
Sandy, can I chime in here real quick?
Yeah.
So I'll let you guys know I am obtaining my master's in business administration from ETSU, and one of the classes that I've been taking is accounting, basically interpretation of financial statements. And one of the books that my teacher recommended we all read before entering the class was this book, Accounting. Sorry, it's backwards. Accounting Made Simple by I believe it's Mike Piper, CPA. It's about a 100-page read, super simple, and just touches on all those aspects of accounting that Cindy was mentioning earlier, financial statements, cash basis of accounting. I think it was about maybe $8 to $10, very cheap, very easy read. So if you have issues understanding and interpreting all this financial literacy, I would recommend maybe getting this book and just trying to learn a little bit more so you understand what you're talking about when you're looking to get more help. This is not a plug for ETSU or anything. I just thought this book was very beneficial to me, as I took some accounting classes maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but coming back into this MBA program, I needed to refresh my memory, and this really helped me. So I'll put that in the chat just in case you guys are interested to read it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to say thank you to Cindy and also for Patrick for your time today and presenting a great session for us. We couldn't do it without volunteers and partners to lead these sessions. So I thank you, and thanks for everyone that joined us. You know, I know everybody's got a busy schedule, but we appreciate you taking the time to join us and to learn a little bit more skills that can help you and do a better job at managing the business going forward. I just want to put a plug in for our next session that's coming up. As you know, Cindy was talking about marketing. Actually, the next session will be on marketing during a post-COVID, marketing after post-COVID. And that will be led by Josh Mancuso with Mancuso Entertainment. Josh has done a number of sessions, but he's also inviting some other colleagues in the marketing field, and I suspect that's going to be a fun session, and that'll be on November the 18th. So, you know, there's information available on that, and I hope you can join us. But again, thanks for taking the time, and this session will be available on the YouTube channel, New Knowledge. We'll post it up on the Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubator's Facebook page, and also on Virginia Community Capitals. But we appreciate it, and also send out a copy of Patrick or Cindy's slides that you could share later today. But I thank you and hope that you can join us in a few weeks on November the 18th. Cindy, anything you want to add before we close?
No, again, just a reminder that I know that we've got a lot of nonprofits on today, and you know, you all are eligible to apply for this rebuild grant as well. So if you have any questions, we're happy to assist. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.